Okay. Hare Krishna. And am I right that we're on 336 Bhagavad Gita? 336.
Yes, 336.
Mic is off. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Still off, but at least on my side it's on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You might want to move up. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, text 36. Arjuna Vacha Ata Kena Prayukto Ayam Papam Chodati Purushaha Anichchan Api Varshneya Balad Eva Niyojitaha Arjuna Vacha Ata Kena Prayuktoyam Papam Chodati Purushaha Anichchan Api Varshneya Paladiva Niyojitaha. Give a copy to Marsh. Bhakti Bhushan Marsh. Okay, right. Just discussing. Oh. Arjuna Vacha Ata Kena Prayuktoyam Papam Chodati Purushaha Anichchan Api Varshneya Paladiva Niyojitaha. Arjuna Vacha
Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichchanapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha.
Arjuna Vacha Atakena prayuktoyam Papam charati purusha Aniccan abhivasneya Baladiva niyojita.
Arjuna Uvacha Atakena prayuktoyam Papam charati purushaha Anichchannapi varshneya Baladiva niyojitaha.
Ladies.
Arjuna Vacha Atakena prayuktoyam Papam charati purushaha Anichcham api varshneya Baladiva niyojitaha.
Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said. Ata, then. Kena, by what? Prayuktaha, impelled. Ayam, one. Papam, sins. Chodati, does. Purushaha, a man. Anichchan, without desiring.
without desiring.
Api, although.
Although,
Varshneya, O descendant of Vrishni.
O descendant of Vishnu,
Balat,
Balat,
by force.
by force.
Eva,
Eva,
as if.
as if
Niyojitaha,
Niyojitaha,
engaged.
engaged.
Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Purport. A living entity, as part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pradjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Asadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pretty warm. Knock off a layer or two. Oh, now it gets hard. Good. Arjuna vacha takena prayukto yam papam charati purusha anichchan apivarshnaya baladiva niyojita. It said, okay, asango hiyam purusha living entity has nothing to do with material nature. It's totally, he has nothing to do with it. Then how is it that he becomes subject to the power of material nature? And particularly, why is it that he does things that are sinful? In the previous verse we've heard that everyone has some duty to perform. If we neglect our prescribed duty, then we become sinful. Then we become sinful. The Papameva Shriyedasman Advaitan Atatayana. In the Bhagavad Gita earlier, maybe first chapter, Arjuna says that if we fight against our relatives, then we'll be overcome by sin. And Krishna answers, no, if you don't fight against them, you'll be overcome by sin. Why? Because it's your duty. One has to perform one's prescribed duty. But sometimes we don't want to perform our prescribed duty, or we deviate from our prescribed duty, or we violate the rules and regulations that govern our prescribed duty. Especially intoxicants, gambling, meat eating, illicit sex. These are contrary to our prescribed duty. But sometimes one becomes impelled toward these things, prayukta. Papam charati. He dives into sinful activities or gets entangled in sinful activities. Anichchan. Anichchanapi. Anichchan means without wanting to. Ichcha means desire. Anichcha, even though he doesn't want to, he becomes entangled in sinful activities. Balad eva niyojita, as if by force. Bala means force. As if he were pulled by force, he becomes dragged into sinful activities. In the Narottam Das Thakur sings, Janiya Shuniya Vishakoina. Janiya means I know, and Shuniya I've heard, and still I'm going for it. Vishakoina. Visha means poison. I know it's poison, I've heard it's poison, and still I'm drinking it. Janiya Shuniya Vishakoina. This is our material condition. We don't want to drink it, but we become, we know, we've heard. Just like a criminal, he knows if I break the law, I'll be punished. He can't stop himself, he can't help himself. He has to do it. Baladiva, as if he were at gunpoint. So, what is that? That's Arjuna's question. What is it that brings a person into such a condition? And Prabhupada said it's a salient question as to the perverted nature of the living entities. In our healthy condition, we wouldn't do such a thing. But we're in a diseased condition. We're in a diseased condition. And Prabhupada comments, it's not that the super soul is telling us you do this. So where is it coming from? That's the question. And the answer will come in the next verse. Any questions so far, comments so far? Yeah.
Maharaj, thank you very much for bringing the topic of sin. And we are feeling we are forced, but we indeed have chosen to be forced because of being here. And my question is like, when we are in the social system of the Varnashram that we discussed yesterday, I was asked a question I couldn't answer, so I'm seeking answer from you. Is that when the wife and husband live together, we know that if the husband does spiritual piety, half of it goes to the wife. Does it also apply for the karmic reaction? If he does material, does it also that she doesn't do anything but she's taking also 50% share?
The husband is sinful?
Yeah.
I don't have a Shastric answer for you. If the wife is sinful, then the husband may take a share. If the king is sinful, if the subjects are sinful, the king takes a share of their sinful reactions. That's stated. If they're pious, he gets a percentage of their sinful, pious activities. And if they're sinful, he's responsible for the whole business. Because he's supposed to be in charge. So if the wife acts sinfully, or suppose the children act wrongly, then the blame comes to the parents. But if the husband acts sinfully, I don't know. But if one is Krishna conscious, then there's no sinful reactions. The best thing is to be Krishna conscious, husband and wife. Or if the other isn't, then one should be. And all right, even if my husband is sinful, I'll be Krishna conscious. And there are many examples. Mandodari didn't become sinful because of Radha. Yes. Prabhupada cited the example of his sister. Then her husband was sinful, performing sinful activities, but she remained fixed in Krishna consciousness. And after some time, the husband also came around. So I don't know the exact answer, but the ultimate answer is that we should be Krishna conscious, then there's no sinful reactions. Okay. Something else?
Yeah, you said that if one deviates from one's duty, from one's dharma, then he's sinful. But sometimes we are so disturbed and we don't know what to do and what is our duty. And of course, we know we are Hare Krishna, so our duties may be different from some ordinary duty. But how to find out exactly what is one's duty?
In Varnashram, there are some rules, and one should know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Tasmat Shastra Pramanam Te Karya Karya Vivastito. One should know what is to be done and what is not to be done from Shastra. What is my duty? What is contrary to my duty? Yashastra Binamutsrija Vartate Kama Karita Nasasiddhim Avaknoti Nasukha Naparakatim. If we don't go by Shastra, if we just go by our mental concoctions, then we'll get entangled. So one should be guided by Shastra. What is to be, what is my duty? The Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, they would be guided by the Brahmins. What is your duty? Kshatriya was to see to it that the other groups were following their duty. Yes. And as mentioned yesterday, in spiritual life, duty means as the spiritual master has prescribed. What he's given me to do, that I have to do. And generally, we don't have to speculate very much. No intoxicants, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex, 4 no's. And positively, chant Hare Krishna, prescribed number of rounds, get up early in the morning, worship the deity, read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform our service. It doesn't require a lot of soul searching. duty is clear. That's the main thing, our duties in Krishna consciousness. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Is it in Varnashram Dharma? Is it?
But it doesn't work if you hold it far away. No, if you hold the microphone far away, it doesn't work.
Yeah, speak now.
So in Varnashram Dharma, is it still a duty of a wife to follow the husband if the husband acts in all kinds of sinful activities?
In Varnashram Dharma, is it advised?
Is it still a duty of a wife to follow the husband even if the husband acts in all kinds of sinful activities?
Is it the duty of the wife to follow the husband even if he's involved in sinful activities? Well, she should avoid sinful activities, but generally she should serve the husband, even if he's not to the standard. All right, let me serve. But in Bhagavatam it's said that one should be engaged in the service of a husband who is not fallen. So there's some leeway there, or some allowance there, that if he's fallen, she can go to the protection of her father, elder brother, grown sons, whatever. But generally the woman should follow the husband.
For example, Maharaj, even if the husband force the wife to, for example, to cook meat in the house.
Yeah, it's not very good. So I don't have specific advice, but she may, all right, I have to serve my husband, or she may think that this is sinful business, I can't do this. Draw the line. You get a cook.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Someone has questions? I have a question, if I can ask.
Is there echo set on that, or is it just echoing by circumstance? No echo or reverb. It should be zero.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Better, yes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, yesterday you were saying the importance of
Tilted away from the microphone.
The importance of association, so that it can give the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. What happens in case if we are in so-called devotee association, but is not really devotee association?
Means?
Because in devotion there are different levels. Maybe some are in a level where.
So they're devotees, but they're not very advanced. They're not practicing so nicely, or they're not so strong. So different things. One, we can try to bring them up. That's first class. If I'm at a higher status, let me try to bring them to a higher status. Prabhupada had all neophyte disciples, so he brought them to a higher status. So that's first class. That after all, we have to associate with. We're advised to associate with devotees who are more advanced. That means the more advanced devotees sometimes have to associate with less advanced, otherwise it doesn't work. So we can try to bring them up. That's very good. And we can look for ways to associate with devotees who are more advanced. These days with the internet and everything else, the association is there. We may sometimes travel and get the association of more advanced devotees, or we may invite more advanced devotees to come. There are different ways to seek out. We may sometimes go to Vrindavan or someplace, get the association of more advanced devotees. was a brahmacharya, sometimes from time to time I would go join Satsang Raj to get more advanced association. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. We'll give you a microphone.
Yeah, yes, right.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhu, I haven't understand the answer.
You have to hold the microphone close to your lips.
So?
Yeah, like that. That does it.
I haven't understand your answer of Sudhana's question. If there is a couple married in Krishna consciousness, then one part make permanently sinful activities, may it be that the other part who tries to be correct, yes, in Krishna consciousness, that the sinful part can kill the other part through the behavior, through his behavior. You understand?
What to do? It's a choice. On the one side, one should avoid all sinful activities. But sometimes, on the other side, the wife has to serve the husband. That's her duty. So sometimes she has to render service in a way that's not very consistent with religious principles. So if that's not so severe, then all right, he's my husband, I have to do it. But it's also said in the Bhagavatam that a woman should engage in the service of the husband, as long as he's not fallen. Fallen means sinful. So if he's sinful, then she can separate from the husband. She can go live with her father, she can live with her elder brother, and she can, in that way. So the choice is there. So then it becomes a judgment. Is this so severe that I should separate? Or should I tolerate? One has to make a judgment, preferably with the help of experienced devotees.
Okay, advice is to go to elder devotees or spiritual master to have an advice.
What happened to your microphone? You took it back.
If the situation isn't clear, how dangerous
Then we take.
Then better to take advice from elder devotees or spiritual masters, and then Krishna brings the truth.
Yeah.
So,
If we're not sure, we can try to take superior guidance. Yes.
And what happens if one part is in sinful activity and the other part do not go to authorities, and then he falls and he dies, yeah? He dies, accident, something like that, because he participates at the karma.
Well, everyone dies, but does he have to accept it? Does that party who agreed have to accept sinful reactions? Or what happens to that person? Yes? Is that the question?
Yes, the person dies and he goes to hell. I think maybe he goes to hell because of the other part who is sinful.
Yeah, therefore we should be careful. On the one side, one goes to hell by, whimsically abandoning the husband. And on the other hand, one goes to hell by performing sinful activities in the association of the husband. So then these things have to be carefully judged. And again, in every circumstance, let me take shelter of Krishna. What should I do? Krishna, you please save me. That I have to, I'm forced to do these things which are not very good. You please help me. Or I may have to abandon my husband, which is not very good. You please help me. So in all circumstances, we should depend on Krishna, rely on Krishna. Then Krishna will help us. Kaunteya pratijani name bhakti pranashati. The devotee is never destroyed. Devotee is always protected by Krishna. So whatever decision, we should always stick to Krishna consciousness seriously. Then Krishna will help us.
Yes. If the part who's sinful, the part who's not sinful, tries think he's honest, yes?
Mm-hmm.
He's the part of the Vedic couple who is not sinful, who is right straight in Krishna consciousness, but he has a blind
spot.
Yeah, blind spot, okay. And this blind spot makes that he don't know what the other part is doing, but he is getting.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
That we're serving someone and we don't know what he's doing. That's not our fault. That's not our fault.
But if the motivation of the straight devotee, the sincere devotee, the motivation is pure, but he has the blind spot,
and Krishna
then Krishna
will help.
Protect us.
Yes, Krishna will protect.
Yes, thank you very much.
Otherwise, the materialist, he has a program for his own enjoyment. So one way or another, he's going to get entangled and he's going to have to suffer. Because he's working on his own behalf for his own enjoyment. But the devotee is working on Krishna's behalf. So even if there's some discrepancy, Krishna says, anyway, he's working on my behalf. I have to protect him. The soldier, if he does something not exactly to the right point, the government protects him. Anyway, he's our soldier, he was acting for the country. But if he's acting on his own behalf, well, good luck. Why should we protect you? But when he's serving the country, then even if there's some discrepancy, still he's a national hero. Okay. Krishna gives so much importance to the devotee, so he protects the devotee. Yogakshema vahamyam, rakshasyatiti vishvasha. One should be confident. Krishna will protect me. Doesn't mean I do all nonsense and say, oh, Krishna will protect me. But if I'm sincerely trying to serve Krishna, then even if there's some discrepancy, I have to rely on Krishna. Krishna will protect me. Something to add, Marsh? Okay. Another anything?
Krishna Maharaj, I have one question concerning it's not so it's easy to make sadhana in the temple and see the deities and chant.
You actually don't have to wear that. If you just hold the microphone close to you, that's good enough.
My desire is to make sadhana outside the temple. I spend 8 hours a day at work with clients, and Krishna exists also in them. And I want to learn from them, and I want to bring that sadhana not only in the temple, also outside the temple. Sometimes I have a client, he's so kindly and so calm, I see so so much quality in him that I want to learn and I want to deepen that. And but I don't know how to do it. I firstly thought of chanting Hare Krishna at work, but I have too much clients and I must also speak with them. And so I was concerned on their qualities. And I want to deepen the sadhana outside the temple, and I need their perhaps guidance, gratitude.
One thing is we're advised that we should not associate very closely with non-devotees. Associate doesn't mean we can't be in the same room, we can't do business with them. But these are not the people to whom we reveal our hearts or to whom we look for advice and guidance. They may have sometimes some good qualities, and we can appreciate that, but we're not advised to associate with them closely to pick up those qualities. Why? Arava bhaktasya kato mahagana manobhatena sati tapatovihi. Their good qualities are ultimately superficial because they're not connected to the supreme reality. They're connected to their own sense gratification. So, because it's in the interests of my own idea of enjoyment, I'll be kind, I'll be polite, I'll be whatever it is. And enjoyment can be subtle, enjoyment can be refined enjoyment. You know, people in gross ignorance are gross in their enjoyment. People in higher modes are more refined. But finally their program is how to enjoy separately from Krishna. So we should be careful not to associate with them very closely. Arava Bhaktas, it said in Bhagavatam, actually they have no good qualities. Because they're on the mental platform, their good qualities could disappear at any moment. It's just superficial. I've given the example. There's someone who's kind, he's polite, well-dressed, generous with his friends, kind to his family, loyal to his subordinates. So many good qualities. And he's the head of the local mafia. So what is the meaning of those good qualities? It's all cancelled out because he's a criminal. So those who are not Krishna conscious, they're still in the criminal mentality. Let me enjoy Krishna's property. Yogam te stene vasad. They're pious thieves. So better that we should associate with the devotees and learn from them.
And how to spend these 8 hours?
I'm sorry. Yes, give her the microphone. Just keep it with her till.
But how to spend these 8 hours at work and bring it, these 8 hours, bring it into Krishna concept.
How to bring your 8 hours to Krishna. First thing is look at it and see if you need to spend 8 hours at work. That's the first question. A lot of people are doing self-created work or work that they imagine to be that they need to do when they don't really need to do it. Lots of times we're doing needless work because we have needless expenses. We're spending money we don't need to spend. And if we cut our expenses, we don't need to work 8 hours. What am I spending so much money for? So first thing is, when you say, if you have to work 8 hours, but do you have to work 8 hours? That's the first thing. Otherwise, cut your hours and spend more time with the devotees. That's the first thing. And if you have to spend more time with the non-devotees, then you have to learn the art, how to think of Krishna while you perform your work. Mama Nusmara Krishna said, think of me and fight.
Yeah, there's the example given in Chaitanya
you have to hold it close.
There's an example given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs
Raghunath Das Goswami.
Yeah, right. So he complained about the same thing, which I want to be with you, but I'm forced to stay at home with my parents. And so what should I do? How should I act? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving him instruction, you should act like a lady who has a secret lover. And in order to not be, how we say,
Detected.
Discovered. She performs her duties. She should perform her duties so well that nobody thinks has any doubts about it. And that's what he did. And when he did that, because his parents were very anxious to have him and not let him go, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so when he started acting like that, they took away the guards and everything, and he was free to go to Krishna. Join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one moment.
That's lover consciousness. The woman has another husband, but she's pretending to be very faithful. But she's always thinking of her lover. So if lover consciousness, why not Krishna consciousness? Something else? Yes.
Maybe in connection to this question? Just I would like to know at work if the colleagues are religious, maybe not Krishna conscious, but they are following also these good qualities are coming because they are God conscious, not atheist.
That's good. And we can try to make them more, try to bring them to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, because I see that we can build bridges of interfaith and even broaden up our...
Even if they're irreligious, we can try to give them Krishna consciousness. They may be religious, irreligious. So many irreligious people, if they're given the right information, can change. So to the extent that we can enlighten our colleagues about Krishna consciousness, give them books, give them prasadam, give them transcendental understanding, and that will be good. Sure.
Thank you.
I had a similar question, almost similar question. I mean, we come across people who are...
You got an answer or?
Yeah, almost. I mean, they are from different sampradayas, they follow different sampradayas, they follow, like for example, some are Shiva devotees, and they exhibit all the good qualities. And I feel personally then it is a little bit difficult to influence them about Krishna consciousness. So any practical tips, Maharaj? How shall we enlighten Krishna consciousness within them?
We give them our books. We sometimes discuss with them if they're open. Otherwise, all right, you're worshipping Shiva, what you're worshipping Durga. But take our book. Even you can sometimes ask them for a contribution. We're having some festival where let them do some service.
So maybe eventually it might come within their heart that they'll get attracted towards Krishna.
Neha Vikramanashosti Prajavaya. Even if they do a little service, that's so you can see how can I engage them in some service. Ask them for some help with some help the temple, and give some contribution, or take a book, distribute some books. We're having a program to distribute so many Bhagavad Gitas this month. Can you take a box and distribute? After all, Bhagavad Gitas for everyone, all the followers of Sanatana Dharma.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Okay, it's a really good tip. I mean, so far, I personally was a little bit hesitant in approaching them to join us or to get an active part in like buying books or distributing books.
Yeah, you can tactfully do it. You're a devotee of Shiva, that's all right. Anyway, we're all respecting Krishna, and we're all following Bhagavad Gita. We make distinctions very often. They don't make distinctions.
For them, everyone is one.
Everything's good. Shiva is good. Shiva Bhakti is good. Ganesh Bhakti is good. Durga Bhakti is good. This Bhakti is good. That Bhakti is good. All right, then Krishna Bhakti is also good. You just
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you? My question is more like when I first came to Krishna consciousness, you come to the temple and sometimes people may judge about you because you still have some impurities or anarthas, and I also have the experiences that people maybe not come like again to the temple because they were confronted with this. So maybe you have something about why we shouldn't judge people and like the Shastra.
You may judge, but you should keep our point in mind. We see someone is smoking, someone is drinking, not that we don't have a judgment about that. We know this person is performing sinful activities. But still, he's a candidate. That's the point. And we should try to see the good side, that he's come somehow or other in the contact with the devotees. So some good is there. We should try to amplify that. If we just criticize, then he goes away. What is our, like in the hospital, if they look at him and they say, oh, he's got a broken this and a broken that and a broken this, forget it. Well, there's some chance to help him. So we should see the good quality. Prabhupada said if there's a little spark, then you try to fan that spark so it becomes a flame. Not that we just, then that becomes our fault. He's doing this, he's doing that, and we're driving people away. So that's our fault. Your temple is established so that people can come to Krishna, not so that we're posted to keep people away. So some tact is required, some generosity. We have to see the good side. Prabhupada set that example, so many hippies and worthless people came. Prabhupada found some good in them, and he would engage them. And then they became nice devotees. Some, at least. Okay? Yeah, don't drive people away. Yes.
Besides ISKCON, it exists Chaitanya Math, and the people of Chaitanya Math say that Srila Sridhar, the founder,
They say what?
they say that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, the founder of Chaitanya Math, has known Prabhupada, they are friends and so on, and that Srila Sridhar Maharaj is more transcendental, is higher than Prabhupada. He has instructed Prabhupada. Prabhupada is visible of him, so in that way, yes. But Krishna has given Prabhupada the task to bring Krishna consciousness in the West. Yeah. For doing that, you need a little bit power, other qualities. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj is originally further spiritual advance, but he hasn't this power, what Prabhupada has, to go with force and to the West, to the Americans, and this is difficult and do this the duty what the spiritual master Siddhanta has given them, has given Prabhupada. So I think both, the two spiritual masters are equal. Both is right. You know what I mean? And because in ISKCON there is like no Chaitanya Maharaj, he is fallen, yes? Chaitanya Maharaj is fallen because of Bhagavad small Swami, he is fallen, okay, but the founder, Srila Sridhar, I think he was not fallen. Yes, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, apart from ISKCON, there's Chaitanya Math, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj is the founder, and the followers say that he was more elevated from Srila Prabhupada than Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada learned from him. And presumably, therefore, the punchline or the bottom line is that we should join Chaitanya Math. You should join us because we're following Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who's more advanced. That's the implicit, otherwise why are we making these points? So first thing is, actually just technical. Chaitanya Math was something else, but the organization founded by Srila Sridhar Maharaj is called Chaitanya Saraswat Math. So that's just a technical thing.
I mean the same.
Yeah, so that's just technical. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was Prabhupada's godbrother. He was certainly exalted in Krishna consciousness. I sometimes met him. He was an exalted devotee, and certainly there's no reason to find fault with him or criticize him. That would be a great offense, a great mistake. There's also Srila Prabhupada never presented himself as the disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He never said that he's my spiritual master. There was one letter, some devotee was sort of getting trapped with another of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, who was saying, I can be your Shiksha Guru, and basically trying to capture him. So Prabhupada wrote, get out of there. And if you want to accept the Shiksha Guru, you can accept Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Even I accept him as Shiksha Guru. So you can have faith in him. But Srila Prabhupada never, apart from that one letter, never presented, yes, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is my Guru. And in fact, when there was a question, one article was written by Achyutananda Swami, giving teachings he'd learned from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We wrote to Prabhupada, is it all right to publish this? Prabhupada said, yes, you can publish. We asked, should we mention, because Achyutananda Maharaj had mentioned in the biodata that he's Srila Prabhupada's Shiksha Guru. And so we asked, should we say that? Prabhupada said there's no need of mentioning Shiksha Guru in this connection. So if he'd wanted, he could have presented that I'm the Diksha disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I regard Srila Sridhar Maharaj as my Shiksha Guru. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Undoubtedly, they were intimately connected for many years. Prabhupada, when he was living in Allahabad, he provided a flat upstairs from his business for the service of Srila Sridhar Maharaj and others who were coming to spread Krishna consciousness. So there's a very intimate connection. So we appreciate that. But there's no need of this Shiksha Guru propaganda, really. And what else can we say about that? Nor, as you rightly said, there's no need of trying to say, no, this one's higher, mine is higher, yours is higher. Mine was higher and yours got some special power to do the business, but actually mine is higher. Or mine is higher because he had the power, but yours, he couldn't do anything. That kind of rhetoric will just lead to offenses. So we just respect that Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, pure devotee of Krishna, and not make needless, dissension. Or, frankly, what you've described to me sounds like a sales pitch. You know what a sales pitch is? Sales pitch means the talk that a salesman uses to get a customer. You know, this car is all right, but my car, accelerates faster, or my car has this features that this car doesn't have, so you should buy my car. A sales talk. So we should avoid indulging in such sales talk or giving our ears to such sales talk. And in any case, Srila Prabhupada is exalted or Sridhar Maharaj is exalted anyway, neither of them is here anymore. So we have you. And you may not be Sridhar Maharaj. You may not be on the same level as Sridhar Maharaj. That's the second point. And we may not be on the same level of Prabhupada, that's also there. My general observation, certainly Srila Sridhar Maharaj is exalted, Srila Prabhupada is exalted, but Srila Prabhupada is the person who established Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he not only established it, but he gave everything. Here's how many rounds you should chant, here are the principles you should follow, here's how the temples should be, here's how the worship should be, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. Everything whole, complete, here's how you do kirtan, here's the importance of the books, everything detailed. Here's how the institution should be established, here's how it should be managed. Everything there. So that's quite a formidable contribution. And generally we see that people who follow that direction given by Srila Prabhupada benefit. This formula has been successful all over the world.
But in Fazit, what can you say to Chaitanya Saraswat Mat? What is it?
We're happy that you're following Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
No, I don't follow.
What should you say to the followers of Chaitanya Saraswat Mat? Hari Bol, we're so happy that you're following Srila Sridhar Maharaj, chanting Hare Krishna, worshipping Krishna. Hari Bol. We don't have to try to disturb them. No, you shouldn't be following Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We're happy. You follow Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you follow Srila Narayan Maharaj, you follow Srila Bhaktayan Maharaj, you follow any Gaudiya Vaishnav, exalted devotee, we're happy. We're not, why should we be envious? There's how many people in Cologne? 1 million. Let's say 1 million. So if 2 or 5 or 20 follow some other Gaudiya Vaishnav institution and don't join ISKCON, are we going to be in shortage? There's so many. So if they can bring some people to Krishna consciousness, we're happy. But it's not very palatable if you come here and try to, whisper in people's ears. It's good that you're coming here, but that's not proper behavior. That's not proper behavior. We'll plant the seeds, we'll give the water, and then when it's harvest time, you'll come with your tools and harvest the crop and go. That's not very much appreciated. So if you again, there's 1 million people in Cologne, go bring some to Krishna and we'll be happy. But there's only 20, 40 or a couple hundred here. Don't come here and prospect. And we also shouldn't go there and prospect. They're working hard to bring people to Krishna. let them bring people to Krishna, and we don't have to go there and say, you're not following Srila Prabhupada, You chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And as far as possible, we should be friendly with them, and there may even be some cooperation, I don't know. That can be decided by the, senior people. Otherwise, we may have friends who are on this side or that side. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be envious or combative. If we want to fight, better to fight with the mind bodies, the materialists. Together or individually, and if we can fight together, that's wonderful. Otherwise, if we have to fight, all right, let's fight with the materialists, the voidists, the impersonalists, not with the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That's not necessary.
Judgment, okay, but you say if Vaishnavas follow Narayan Maharaj and you say, okay, do chant Hare Krishna and so on, but he's fallen, fallen down, yes. He can't bring people to Krishna.
Who's that, Narayan Maharaj or why not?
I have heard from spiritual masters that he can't bring people to Krishna.
I don't know why not. I don't know why not. Srila Narayan Maharaj is bona fide Gaudiya Vaishnava, chanting Hare Krishna. There's so many decades and decades. Why can't he bring people to Krishna? I can bring people to Krishna, after 20 or 40 years of practice, being, pulled out of sinful life. But he can't bring people, why not? Well, anyway,
I don't want to say names, yes?
Anyway, whoever said it, but I don't understand why not. He's, he's representing the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's telling people to chant Hare Krishna. He's telling people to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness. He's not personally acting against the principles of Gaudiya Vaishnava life. So I don't see grounds for criticism. Rather, we should respect. Actually, we should respect all the senior Vaishnavas. If they're even fallen people, even a person who may do something very wrong, Krishna says sadhureva. He still has to be considered a sadhu, and quickly he'll come back to the standard. And what to speak of people who've never broken these principles. So I don't get it. I don't see what I met Srila Narayan Maharaj also. As far as I know, his character was beyond reproach. Now, I may not agree with something he taught or something, the way that he did this or that. That's a different thing. But certainly, I can't say no, he's not a devotee, he has no potency, only, as soon as you're in ISKCON, then you have then you're all powerful, you're all pure, you're all everything. And if you're not in ISKCON, then you're rubbish. It doesn't work that way. We should respect all the Vaishnavas. The disrespect to the Vaishnavas is very subversive to spiritual progress. We should be very careful not to offend or criticize the Vaishnava. That's called Sadhuninda. Sadhuninda is very bad. We may not mix with them, that's another thing. They have their group, we have our group, they have their approach, we have our approach. We may not mix very extensively, but certainly we shouldn't criticize the sadhus. That's very bad. We should not do that.
The words of Krishna Chandra.
The son of Rush. Yeah, I don't think I know him very well.
It's the same thing like Narayan. You think, okay, accept and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know these people individually, and I can't say this one, that one. But in general, they're Vaishnavas. We should respect them. And not to criticize and make a daksha yagya. Not to criticize and make a daksha yagya. And, you know, again, taking a sales metaphor, an example from selling. You know, ISKCON had a monopoly. We were the only Gaudiya Vaishnav store in town. So then someone else comes and opens a store. So then we start saying, oh, that's not a good store. And their product is all junk. Blah, 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 blah. Now, better the advice from the sales department in such a circumstance where you're not the only game in town anymore. You're not the only store in the city. Improve your product. Improve your customer service. And improve your marketing. That's the advice. Improve your product. Make sure that your devotional program and your, you know, when people come, they're not told, you know, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. They're welcome, they're treated nice. Improve your product. Improve your customer service. And see that all the devotees or the people you come in touch with are nicely served. And improve your marketing. Distribute more books, go knocking on doors, do whatever it is that will tell people about your message. And don't waste your time and risk your life criticizing the Vaishnavas. Maharaj.
Bhagavad also instructed us to be
Oh,
respectful.
no, close.
Bhagavad also instructed us to be respectful with them, but not associate with them. Bhagavad said they cannot help us in our mission.
Yeah. Prabhupada was careful. Especially, devotees, Prabhupada cautioned that generally with his godbrothers we shouldn't mix extensively. Especially because in Prabhupada's days there were all sorts of intrigues about which we were innocent and about which he was very well informed. But even now these things may go on, that people are looking to gather resources from ISKCON. Not that they're not trying to help people, they're just trying to pull. So then better keep a little distance. Or those who are genuinely friendly, we can look for opportunities for cooperation. I have several friends who are connected to other Gaudiya Vaishnava organizations, and they're very friendly. We keep a nice relationship, and some of them are, in fact, they're practically all my godbrothers, and some others also. So, not that we have to be, look at them with, what are they, daggers in your eyes, you belong to such and such. We should appreciate their serving Mahaprabhu. They're very nice. And as Maharaj said, but we may not mix with them very extensively. And especially if they're on a prospecting mission.
Thank you.
Maharaj?
Do you want to add anything more, Maharaj? Okay. Yes.
I wanted to just add something to this, but Bhushan Maharaj has very nicely put Prabhupada quote there. It is something like, of course there are so many good girls, but one should marry only one and be faithful. So, of course there are so many nice institutions, doesn't mean that we have to go everywhere. If we have connected to Srila Prabhupada, we should be very, very confident that our life is successful. We don't have to hop between different institutions.
Generally, Again, as far as I've seen, generally Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers or other Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they didn't put so much emphasis on organizations. Even some of them are antagonistic to the very idea of organizations. And Srila Prabhupada gave us an organization. And from what I've seen, this organization gives so much strength and support to people. And we may, anyway, I don't see that elsewhere, that they have that same strength. Anyway, I don't want to get into a point-for-point sales talk or anti-sales talk. Having just said that we should avoid such things. But we should just respect all the Vaishnavas. And if you're happy here, if you're not happy in ISKCON, if you feel that what Prabhupada has given you isn't enough, that ISKCON is unbearable or uncongenial, you don't like ISKCON, join one of the other organizations. It's all right. If you don't like ISKCON that much, you don't think Prabhupada is, everything we say he is, fine, go someplace else. Why should we be envious? Go someplace else and practice Krishna consciousness and be happy. But if you think that Prabhupada was extraordinary, that Prabhupada gave everything we need, that Prabhupada's teaching is authentic and powerful, and then you may want to stay connected to Prabhupada's institution and Prabhupada's line of succession and so on. If that means something to you, then you may say, well, I want to be in this kind. Just like IBM, I've been using a ThinkPad for 40 years. And partly because they give good service. They have that little red ball in the middle that's I'm used to. Nobody else really has it. So I like it and I'm going to stick to it. But if you find, no, I just love Mac's interface and I can't use a PC because it doesn't do things the same, all right, just get your work done. And go someplace else and be happy. Why should we be envious? I can think of one or two instances where I think the people went to Gaudiya Math and it was better for them. It was a particular circumstance. They had a particular circumstance where I thought this was good for them. This was good for them. They're happily situated, they're practicing, they're spreading Mahaprabhu's message. All right, they're not in ISKCON, they still honor Prabhupada, still follow Prabhupada, they're still observing, keeping the promises they made to Prabhupada. I don't have to be envious of it. But for the most part, the devotees who are in ISKCON are happy and are happy following Prabhupada's direction. Let them continue. And we don't have to canvass them from outside. Didn't you know that? That won't help us. Or them. Or anyone.
I have the question. Yesterday we were discussing the influence of modes of material nature. And today when in this verse we were reading, we are impelled to commit sin. So is it still only because of the modes of nature, or is it because of the anarthas that are inside us?
You'll find out tomorrow what it is that makes a person perform sinful activities. Mm-hmm. In the next verse, Krishna will answer very directly.
Today is your last day of association, so if you can briefly touch that.
Yeah, kamesha krodhesha. Krishna says it's lust. Atmendriya priti vansha tari balikam. What is lust? Kam? Desire to satisfy our own senses. Krishnandriya priti vansha tari premana. Love means to try to want to satisfy Krishna's senses. The original nature of the living being is to want to please Krishna. But when we're in our diseased condition, then we want to satisfy ourselves separately from Krishna. That's called lust. And because of that, we want to, why should Krishna enjoy? Let me enjoy. And then we act, my needs come first. And we find different mental speculations to support why my interests have to come first. It may be so many excuses: social reasons, family reasons, economic reasons, political reasons, health reasons. This spirit soul is expert, diseased conditioned soul is expert with coming up with mentally concocted reasons why he should be serving his own senses and not Krishna's senses. That's called lust. Especially lust, as we know, sex desire is very strong. Young Maitanadi, that when, what is that? Oh, Pumso Striya Maitini Bhavameta, Deoritan, Hridiyagrantamahu, Tagriya Kshetra Sutta Aptavitar, Tranasyamoham, Mohoyamam Maneti. This sex attraction. And people become fools for the sake of sex attraction. They steal, they kill, they rape, they do anything for this sex desire. So that's very prominent. What is that? Dushpuri and Amalena Chana, desires that are never satisfied and burn the heart. So that desire is the thing, or any desire other than the desire to please Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, many times when we serve with devotees and we maybe even live with devotees in temple or wherever, there are occurrences where you get this, when of course there are always differences, right? You feel that, okay, sometimes you get this ego that I'm doing so much and the other person is not doing much of their seva or contribution. And then you get this, inside your mind you start cooking, you just start developing this false ego inside you, and then you start feeling anger for the person. So how to deal with this? That
we should appreciate devotees, not this sort of default mode of I'm great and he's useless. We should be very careful about that. We should appreciate the good qualities of other devotees and not fall under the sway of a mind that wants to keep telling us why we're great and why others are not so great. We should appreciate the good qualities of others.
Many times when I
and including, it becomes a kind of false ego. I'm great because ISKCON is great, and I'm great because I belong to ISKCON. and you're not great because you belong to this other organization. So the conclusion is, I'm great, you're not great. So then it becomes, it's not a theological question anymore. It's not a question of how best to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or best to serve the conditioned souls. It's just, I'm great, you're not great. So that, and on the basis of that, we commit aparadhs. I'm great and you're blah, 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 blah. Or you're following someone who's blah, 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 blah. Or you're associating with those who are blah, 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 blah. We shouldn't do that. We should be very careful that our false egos don't trap us into offending the Vaishnavas. We should appreciate, now they're Vaishnavas, may not be, they're a different group from us, here are the differences, here's what we emphasize, they may emphasize something else, but we're all serving Krishna. If you like, you can go there, but if you come here, this is what we're giving.
Thank you much. In the extension of this, I mean, many times, so the way out of it, you're saying appreciate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many times when I try to appreciate a person where I'm feeling this anger or this feeling of gap, then I feel that I'm appreciating in a fake way. That, oh, Prabhu, you are so great. And
even little fakeness won't hurt us. You know, we should try not to be inauthentic and just, you know, oh, Prabhu, you're such a, really I'm thinking you're such a fool.
so how to get out of this?
Try to sincerely appreciate. Find out some good quality. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we've heard, used to, when there were meetings of with his disciples, naturally among the disciples, these things will enter, that there'll be some criticism or some sign of envy or something. So he used to, as a function, he would say, now such and such will glorify such and such. Now such and such Maharaj will glorify such and such Maharaj. And all right, you know, Guru Maharaj has asked me to do it, I have to do it. And by doing it, he'll find, you know, what are all the good qualities of that person. I had my personal experience. I had one godbrother. He wasn't terrible. He was okay, but he used to get on my nerves so much. You know, just things about, you know how people get on your nerves because either they talk too much or they do this or they do that, and you think, ah. So I had a godbrother like that. You know, he was nothing wrong with him really, but he used to get so much on my nerves. And then Prabhupada came to New York where we were serving, and he got some opportunity to serve Prabhupada, and I was there, and I saw how Prabhupada appreciated his service. So then I thought, you know, what's wrong with me? You know, Prabhupada appreciates him. What's wrong with me that I don't appreciate him? So then my mind had to change. So that's a sign of the great souls. They can pick up the good qualities of others. Prabhupada said, bees look for nectar and flies look for pus. So we shouldn't be like the flies looking for pus, we should be like the bees looking for nectar. Then Prabhupada quoted Janakya, that one should pick up poison even from nectar even from a pot of poison. And one should pick up knowledge even from a person who's ugly or some other bad quality. And one should pick up a qualified wife, Sri Ratna Dushkaladapi, even if she comes from a low family. If she's like a jewel, then take her. So in that way we should find the nectar in the pot of poison. We should find a qualified wife in the low family. We should find the good qualities. amidst the qualities that we don't appreciate.
Is this valid for only between Vaishnavas, or even we should do
Everyone actually can pick up. The book distributors are my godbrother Vaisheshika Prabhu. He's like a world-class expert in this. He sees someone and he immediately finds something to appreciate about that person. Hey, I like those glasses. He's got some glasses. I like those glasses. Where'd you get them? Appreciate something, find something to appreciate. Then the person becomes his friend, yes. And he sells him a book. So, of course, with the non-devotees, we're a little careful, and we know that, and with especially the impersonalists and the sinful people, we should be careful, not that, they have such wonderful qualities, and we have stars, and we have the Uttamadikaris, they see only the good qualities. But we shouldn't pretend to that. But if we see some good qualities, all right, then you try to amplify that so that they engage in the service of Krishna. My godbrother, Jayadvaita Prabhu, who promoted the Rath Yatras so nicely, he's famous for that. He'd find some person, the person might be some bum on the beach, but he'd say, "You know how to use a hammer?" The guy would say, "Yeah." "Hey, could you help me with this?" So find some opportunity. Oh, right, he knows how to use a hammer. You can engage him in Krishna's service.
Sorry, my last point from my side. So if I have already committed offenses to a Vaishnava like this, that thinking negative about him, so what's the way out? How to ask for?
We've already offended a Vaishnava, at least in our minds. What's the way out? First of all, stop. And second of all, you can get in touch with that Vaishnava. I was thinking such and such thing, but now. Prabhupada gave the example, told the story how some people from Gaudiya Math came to visit his house when he was living with his father. And his father thought that these were like Ramakrishna mission people. So he was staying upstairs and not coming, not showing them any regard. And then he got to understand that they were actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's men, they were Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So he immediately came and offered them respects. "Please forgive me, I was thinking you were these kind of men." Now I see.
So even if you commit offense in mind, is it counted as an offense, or you need to act?
It's an offense.
Yeah, in the mind also.
Yeah, it's said someplace in Shastra that if you're not happy to see a Vaishnava comes and you're not happy to see him, that's an offense.
But in Kali Yuga also, Maharaj?
It's still an offense. Now you may not get the sinful reactions, that's stated also, but it's an offense.
So what's the difference then, Maharaj? If it's an offense but no sinful?
One is an offense, just like you broke the law, but we're not going to throw you in jail for it. But you broke the law.
But there would be some reaction of it that I will lose.
That's the point. That in Shastra, someplace it's mentioned that in Kali Yuga, the offenses committed within the mind don't give reactions. But the problem is that it goes from the mind to the voice, from the voice to the action.
One day it comes.
Eventually it comes in action.
So you don't want it in the mind either. Just like infection, it starts off as a small thing, and then pretty soon it's all over. So you don't want that to happen. So before that happens, you take some health measures so that you can not be affected. The best health measures, try to appreciate, especially the Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami's, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, anyone who's chanted Hare Krishna even once, he's a Vaishnava. Even once, he's chanted Hare Krishna. Krishneti Asyutari Giritam Manasadriyeta Tikshasti Che Pranitibis Tapajantamisham Shushushaya Bhajana Vigyam Ananya Manya Nindali Shunya Hridamipsitam Sangalabdva. Rupa Goswami describes how to associate with different classes of devotees. Those who are just chanting Hare Krishna, we should respect within our minds. Not criticize within our minds, but respect within our minds. And if he's gotten initiated, Dikshasti Chain, then we should offer him pranams, pranatibis. Bhajantamisham, he's engaged in the service of Krishna. And Shushu Shaya Bhajana Vikyam. And if someone is very advanced in Krishna consciousness, his heart is free from the tendency to criticize others and from other such contaminations. And he's very expert in Krishna consciousness. Then we should be keen to get his association and serve him. These are the guidelines given by Srila Rupa Goswami.
Thank you.
Therefore, we need to be very careful. If we have to respect even someone who's not initiated but chanting Hare Krishna, how careful do we have to be with those who are practicing Krishna consciousness or those who are have dedicated their whole lives to serving Krishna? We should be so wary, so on guard of offending them. We should be very, very careful. Okay. Did you want to add something more, Maharaj? Okay. So this is 8 o'clock, we stop, right? Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to
His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki Jai. His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj ki Jai. I would like to take 2